What is going on, guys? Xpertfusion here, and today I got the TheAireaidLord back.
TheAireaid.
Yeah, TheAireaid, whatever the fuck that means.
It's alright, third time's the charm. That was the second time.
Oh well. So we got a video today where we're going to kind of talk about the Pike deaths. Both of us kind of have a similar feeling about them. We don't really like the choices they made. We love the episode. We think it was very well done, but we just don't like the choices. A few of the choices. We feel like they don't work. They weren't impactful enough as they should have been. And we're just going to kind of break down each of the characters, whether or not they were actually impactful or not, and kind of explain what characters we think would have been better as a replacement for the characters that actually did die. Or just how they should have handled it better before, even, because some of these characters, I think the Pike would have worked for them if they got in proper development beforehand. That's kind of
right. A
how
lot
I
of
see
the
it.
characters, like, we just, like, forgot about them, and then, like, it's like, oh, they died. It's very
Frankie?
tragic.
We'll get over that, but I want to start with the Highwaymen, the two of them. All right? So
Right.
they're introduced, episode 13 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like thinking, okay, well, first I thought there were going to be some new enemies. I was like, all right, we really don't need more enemies now. But then they actually were kind of cool, and I actually liked that a lot. The only character out of the entire Highwaymen group that we actually had any really lines of dialogue from, any actual name, was Ozzy. And he was kind of cool. I was fine with him. And boom, he's dead. Which, I guess if you want to kind of make the Highwaymen more included in this whole Whisperer War, then okay, I guess it does kind of fit. But what the hell was the point of killing his friend as well? It felt like filler. It was just...
Yeah, like, is Angela Kang gonna pull a J.K. Rowling and be like, Ozzy had a gay lover, and by the way, he was the guy that was on the Pike? Like what?
There was no reaction out of anybody. Every single character should pose a reaction to the audience. Not like, that doesn't have to be like, crying reaction. It's just be like, oh shit, they're dead, that guy or that girl. But
And one thing
no
that
one knew who
irritated
that
me
person
about
was.
them was, here's a question to think about. Why did two Highwaymen attack that barn? Why didn't
Yeah.
Ozzy see that happening and say, yo, there's like a whole bunch of people being dragged from the kingdom to this barn. Let's get the full force of the Highwaymen, because that's our job, that we agreed to protect this place from harm. And go in, guns blazing. Where were those guns that they held on the kingdom in that that shop? You get some pre-Revolutionary War guns and freaking shoot Alpha, shoot the Whispers, save all the captives, and there you go. No Pikes. Like, why did they run in? It was like a suicide mission. They're like, oh, I'm here to save the... Oh, shit, I'm dead. Like, what was the point?
Yeah, I did not like that at all. But like I said before, I think this episode was fantastic from start to finish. I actually loved how the Pikes were revealed. I loved how they had the characters being shown... the characters questioning where they are, just like in the comics. That was great and all. I love the episode. I love the music. Everything was great. It was just the people on them. That was it.
Yeah.
Now we get to DJ. I think he actually fit, to be honest. I don't really know who he's impacting in terms of other characters, because who was he really close to? Maybe Michonne. They kind of were he kind of was, helping her out, I guess, at Alexandria. I don't really know. We didn't really see much of DJ, but I think he was actually an alright side character to get the Pike. I was fine with that.
I completely forgot he was even a character. Someone in my comments, because I said Laura would get the Pikes.
Yeah, that's what I said.
The Savior Lieutenant with the tattoo, because I knew her, because she had she had a significant role in the Savior's arc, especially with Dwight when he was betraying Negan. But what DJ never I knew of him, but I never knew his name. And someone's like, oh, you forgot DJ. I think they were trying to spoil it, obviously. But I was like, I don't know. I didn't know him. So for me, that was who is that?
Laura would impact, I feel like, a lot more people, in my opinion. I don't think the impact was there for DJ. But as a side character, one of the randoms, whatever, I think it was all right. But then Frankie... Yeah. Frankie, I thought she was gone until last episode. I was like, okay, well, I guess all the Negan's wives are gone because we haven't seen them since like episode 1 of season 9. We saw him like one scene in the sanctuary, but ever since the time skip, we haven't seen any of Negan's wives. So I just thought they were all either dead or gone or whatever. And then we see Frankie in episode 14. I'm like, oh, well, okay, I guess she's back. And then boom, she's dead in the next episode. I don't think she's gonna impact anyone, to be honest. The only person she was somewhat close to was the other wives, as well as kind of Eugene to a sense. People are telling me, oh, Frankie's going to develop Negan. I'm like, you really think Negan gives a fuck about Frankie? Like, what?
Yeah.
Just some random wife?
He cares about Lucille.
Yeah,
Lucille.
Like,
yeah.
If he saw Lucille die, he'd be a lot more, like Lucille break, whatever. A lot more. Where is Lucille, by the way? We still have not seen Lucille. Michonne said they left her out there.
That's a question. That's a question for another. I imagine. Well, in the intro credits, there's a clue. I think they reveal it's just in Alexandria, like somewhere. Because remember, like as the credits are going on, Lucille is in the dirt next to Daryl's bike, and then like grass covers it and stuff. I think that's a clue.
Yeah, I'm sure it's in Alexandria somewhere. But yeah, he better get it back next season. The Pikes themselves, it's like they feel like they played it safe, but at the same time, they killed off people who just had potential. So it was like they're playing it safe, but in the wrong way of playing it safe. Like that's what she was going for. I can tell she did not want to kill people because it's kind of weird to me that the people who died are the people that a lot of people don't like. Like I see a lot of Henry haters. I see a lot of Tara haters. I don't really see Enid haters that much, but most people don't really give a shit about her. So it's like kind of ironic that the characters she decided to kill off were the people that she knows a lot of people don't like anyways, which feels like she was trying to play it safe there.
There are some people out there who could potentially have like nobody cared that any of them died.
Yeah.
Like that's like, because if you didn't like, oh, Henry's just this whiny teenager, Enid, like, you know, what has she really done? You know, there's a lot of people who don't like Tara. I mean, if you eliminate those three and then the other ones are just like the filler characters, like what are you impacted by here? Like
I was just more, because I already was spoiled. I was just more, honestly, my reaction was just I was more pissed than anything, so I didn't really get a good reaction out of it, I'm gonna be honest. Once I saw Ezekiel talking to Lydia and the little thing, I knew it was Henry at that point, because I was like, I could tell what they were trying to go for. They were trying to make us think, oh, is it Ezekiel or is it Henry? But they literally showed Ezekiel.
They tricked us, dude. They took a scene right out of the comics when Alpha talks to Ezekiel. Yeah. And I had a little bit of hope at that point, because Ezekiel like locks arms with Alpha. He's like, let me show you the clothing booth. I was like, could this be where he dies?
See, the problem is I could just tell they were subverting our expectations, which is something I hate when movies do that. They just try to be unpredictable on purpose. Like, that's why I hated The Last Jedi. I'm sure you probably didn't too. I think I might have seen the video of yours a while back where you said complained about it.
My drunk friend and I just bashing that movie. I think that movie surpassed The Last Airbender as the movie I hate the most. That destroyed a franchise for me. Don't get me on that topic, but as you were saying.
Yeah, it's just like subverting expectations and being unpredictable just for the sake of being unpredictable rather than going for the story. Like, that's why they didn't kill Ezekiel. I'm sure as hell they would have done Ezekiel if he, I mean, I don't know exactly, but if he didn't die in the comics. Because that's what Angela said in that article. The ones you sent me, she said something literally like, we just didn't want to be predictable. Like, she said something literally just like that. And so that's why they didn't kill Ezekiel off. I mean, Rosita, I understand completely. I'm fine with Rosita living. That works. I think that would have been
a step too far. Like, because the Kirkman killed off a pregnant woman in the comics, because Rosita is pregnant leading up to the fair, just like she is in the show. They did the same thing. Yeah. And when they revealed that she was pregnant a few episodes back, I actually got scared. I was like, are they going the same route? Like, would they really Game of Thrones this and kill a pregnant woman? But they didn't. Okay, that makes sense. But Ezekiel's death is like what Glenn's death is. It's that iconic, like how the character goes out. It's that iconic, this is how they meet their end. And like, I was expecting it, because that's the reveal. If you read issue 144, when it's going through all the Pike victims, Ezekiel's is the big one. Like, they actually like you see the faces, and then kind of like how we had the whole reveal. Like Henry was the last reveal. Like they
Mm.
there was Carol's reaction, and then she's crying, and then we have a sweeping shot of all of the victims, and then we get to our last victim. Like we don't have an individual one-on-one shot of Henry's head. It just shows a sweeping shot of all of them, and he's last. That's exactly how they do it with Ezekiel in the comics, because they show everybody individually, and then Ezekiel's like the oh my god. So they intended Henry to be the oh my gosh big shock death that replaced Ezekiel.
Which is
That's what they're
it's
telling
kind of
us.
weird to me. Like they've been obviously making Henry a very important character this season, but wouldn't you think Tara or Enid is a little more of a main character than Henry is? Like, because Tara's
Been in
been
the
here
show
since
longer.
season 4, yeah. Like
Yeah.
she's been here for a long ass time. So I mean, I'm sure it did make more sense having Henry be the last one, just because it was the most heartbreaking for the people there, at least. But the one thing I really wanted to see Ezekiel or some, because the thing about the Pikes that made them so beautiful was the fact that the head, or like the head of the person, was very unique in I don't know how to say it. Like, because he had the dreadlocks, right? And he had the little feather, so it kind of looked cool with it kind of flailing in the wind. But I feel like the characters they killed off in the show had such generic looking faces. Like the two, like Tara and Enid, the most generic looking girls out there, right? Henry, just some random blonde kidded boy, right? But if you killed off someone like Father Gabriel, you could have his little hat, the little glass eye. It just, I don't know, it looks more iconic to me. And then having Ezekiel with the dreadlocks obviously was just so cool in the comics. And I think that's a small thing,
Tara
but
did have the long black hair. Like that was
yeah,
kind of a giveaway. Like that was a giveaway. I think it was messed up, and some people were like even bashing it. They're like, "Wow, Tara's last scene was her casting shade at Maggie," or Enid was just talking. That was such a weird scene where like her and Alden hadn't officially declared that they were girlfriend boyfriend. I was
yeah,
like, how have they not
yeah.
declared that yet? Like
I
what?
don't,
That
I
was
didn't
such a
understand that. I thought they
yeah.
must have been. I guess they probably weren't with each other for that long. I guess. I mean, I don't know how long the season's been. Like maybe 2 weeks or something, probably. Like after this time skip, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, maybe they just started dating or like talking or making out, whatever the hell they were doing. But yeah, that was a
Yeah.
little weird.
I'm just in. I mean, I won't go into the logistics about how Alpha did it, because I was saying to people, like, how did she drag? Because in the comics, it's different. She beheads everybody at the kingdom and then
Yeah, yeah.
takes the heads with her. In the show, she somehow drags 8 bodies from the kingdom to this barn, ties them up, and then the highwaymen intervene. They fight, die, and then everyone gets their heads chopped off. So it's different. It's actually different. And my question is, well, so then extra whisperers infiltrated the fair, but how? Like, did everyone just get like drunk and go to this movie, and like everyone was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen a movie in like 6 years, got to see it, it's like the must thing to do, and everyone just let their guard down, and Alpha was able to do whatever the heck she
Yeah,
wanted.
honestly, I think the writers just had no idea how to write that logistically, so they just said we'll just skip over it. Honestly, which personally, you know what? I'm whatever. I can deal with it, but
Yeah, they knew about the threat. They had that whole meeting
yeah,
in the kingdom, that first scene before they signed the charter. Daryl's like, look, I fought these guys, these whispers are messed up, I fought one of them one-on-one. Like that was their moment to like fortify the kingdom. Like, look, we have a big public event with a lot of people, we hired the highwaymen to protect the roads. Like they had planted the seeds. Like we hired the highwaymen to protect the roads, we're going out to investigate, other stuff. And I, just with that preparation, the fact that there wasn't like that added, like I can wrap my head around Alpha disguising herself as the Hilltop
yeah.
woman so people think it's her, but how did she get those bodies out? How did she get them out?
And for Tara and Enid, not Enid, Tara and Henry, they've seen Alpha before, so there's no way in hell she was able to lure them away like she was probably for like other people, just by them
I'm
not knowing
angry we
her.
didn't get to see the scene of Henry like going down and like, because he's like, oh, actually, I don't know if you realize this. They did this for like irony. The scene we first see older Henry, Matt Lintz Henry, that's the place where he gets captured, because he says
Yeah,
to Lydia, he's like, "Oh, something's going on there. There's always something there." So I guess it's to be assumed that Alpha set a trap down there and captured her. So
Yeah, that's probably it. All right. Well, the next Pike victim, we were on Frankie, right? Tammy Rose. Tammy Rose, she was fine. I think that was perfect. Like in the comics, that's whatever. Impacts Earl, that's great. And then the two kids, Rodney and Addie. I feel like it was overkill to do both of them. You could have done one of them, and I would have been fine with that. But like both of them was just kind of like, why? Especially Addie, because killing Henry as well. I feel like the only person that was anyway connected to Addie was Henry. So just killing both of them was just like, all right, well now you just completely wasted any scenes they had together.
yeah, didn't you want Addie to be impacted? Like maybe
Yeah,
her and Lydia, or like maybe Lydia has a
yeah,
scene because Lydia knew towards the end with that very brief drama where those stupid hilltop guys were trying to like break, they were like eyeing up Lydia, and they were trying to break up Lydia and Henry by
yeah.
saying, hey, Addie has a thing for Henry, and Lydia Lydia throws goat shit in their faces or whatever that happened. But yeah, like Addie probably could have some scenes with Lydia if she had survived
That
and
would have
been
been
like,
that would have
yeah,
worked. Yeah, I think that would have been
yeah.
great. Or Enid, even if they decided to keep her alive, she could have became a close bond to Lydia. But now Lydia's just gonna be bonded with Daryl. I guess that's about
I'm
it.
surprised Alden didn't get it. I had Alden
I
as one
would
of my
much
picks.
rather have that. Even though I love Alden, I probably like Alden more than Enid, honestly. I just would rather. I think it would be more impactful. Um, I mean, not impactful for the audience because I think people, have known Enid a lot longer. But I guess to see
It's
Enid grow, because what has she done this season? She became a doctor in the second episode. That's about it. That's it. 100%. That's it. And other than that, she was a love interest for Alden. That was about
Yeah,
it.
this was back to our earlier point about how a lot of the Pike victims, besides Henry, because Henry
Yeah, yeah,
kind of like became the main character for these past couple of episodes, like 9, 10, 11, 12. He's been in every single freaking episode. He's been in
yeah.
every single episode at the forefront, either going after Lydia, making choices about her, Daryl going after him. Like he's been at the forefront of all of these episodes. Even when Michonne had her big flashback episode, he was still in it,
Yeah.
and they put so much emphasis and focus. I think the writers were saying, well, if we do this enough and we give him all of this extra focus, then it'll be super impactful when he dies. It's like, well, you're missing the point. You're supposed to be giving him this time because he picked up Carl's storyline, which you left for dead when Carl died. So now
Mm.
you set this all up, and I applauded the writers, and I was like, well, this is awesome. All right, you took something like Carl's death, you gave it to this character. I think maybe he could be a better actor than Chandler Riggs. That's neither here nor there. But let's see how this progresses, and then you build all of this up, and for what? Like, what did? And like, what's Lydia gonna have? Like, who's she gonna have a relationship with? What's she gonna do? Because from the previews for next week, it looks like Carol wants to fucking, kill her because like literally Henry's obsession with her got him killed. So like now she's just, people are gonna blame her. She's technically from the enemy. It's
Yeah, and people were saying that, oh, well, you needed to do this to make Lydia want to change sides and want to kill the Whisperers because she obviously didn't want to kill Whisperers before. Well, if you killed off Ezekiel, I think it would have been the same thing. She would have seen how heartbroken Henry is, and she would have been like, not same as impacted as seeing Henry die, but still more inclined to want to help kill some Whisperers, and eventually she would build up to it. I think it would have been actually more interesting because it would have been more of a question as to whether or not she's actually wanting to kill her own people. But now it's like obvious. She's obviously going to kill her own people. Freaking, they killed Henry. Obviously, she's going to want to kill her mother now. But if it was just Ezekiel and she just saw how damaging it was to Henry, I think it would have been more interesting to see whether or not she actually would do it. And then we would see her kill Whisperers for the first time in that big hilltop battle, which I'm assuming they're going to do the same thing.
Yeah,
But
and
with,
it would have been cool. It would have been cool to see Henry's progression. Like, what if he had turned like dark, like what if
yeah.
he had gone to like dark thoughts, like almost like the governor kill 'em all kind of thing. Like maybe Henry's like wanting to avenge Ezekiel, so he just gets like really angry. He makes rash decisions, trying to go out and just kill the Whispers, and Carol has to like reel him back in. Like the two of them share their grief together over Ezekiel and like how they're both dealing with it. Even Jerry can get in on the freaking hugs, like because there's a lot of people that looked up to the guy. But in some of the things I've seen, and especially that interview that Angela King has that she did, I think this simply comes down to the fact that they were running out of
Yeah.
characters, if you think about it. Because if you get rid of Ezekiel, like you're limiting the big role characters that you have left. Like let's say all of the Pike victims are the same, but you swap out Henry for Ezekiel. Because now you've killed all the leadership at the hilltop. You've killed it at the kingdom because Ezekiel's dead and Carol takes over. And so like you keep going through characters, and so you're like think of all the characters we lost in season 9. Either they died or they left. Rick,
Mm.
Maggie, Jesus, and if Ezekiel died, you'd add him, and then Tara, and then Enid. I mean, that's 6 people.
Yeah.
So the show is like what we need. Like we can't have this be, you know, Carol and Daryl Dixon walking through the snow together. Like we we need some other people. Like we got to have the mainstays because that's what's going to keep people locked into the show. But it's the corner they wrote themselves into because Andrew Lincoln left, Maggie's off on some other show, so like you don't have those other characters to take the space that you normally would have. Like in the comics, Rick and Maggie are still there.
One
So
major issue I'm having with this season that I feel like past seasons didn't have, but a lot of people like this better, which I'm like, this is probably an unpopular opinion, but this season has been very focused on the main characters, like the main ones. They have not really cared or given a shit about any side characters really much at all this season. And if they did give a shit about side characters, they built them up into main characters and focusing on various slim amounts. But like when you go back to season 6, 7, 8, they were focusing on like side characters for whole episodes, which I know a lot of people didn't like. And yeah, I don't want to see too much of that. But I feel like you have to do that to make people care about the side characters and turn them into main characters, or at least somewhat closer to main characters, so we have more characters to care about, so people aren't as sad or pissed when these main characters are dying, because you get these new characters who are great and end up like Oceanside. We have not seen anything of them the whole season other than this episode, so other than obviously after the time jump. And
did you recognize the girl who was there?
I didn't recognize it at first, but I saw it on Twitter, which I think is pretty cool. But I feel like it's just way too old though. She was like 10 and she does not look like 16 now, because I could have sworn she was like 10 in before the time jump, and it's a 6-year time jump, so there's no way she's like, I don't know, she looks too old. But
well, I knew her name because Tara flipped her off. She's like, "Yep, see you later, Rachel," and like they would give the middle finger to each other. And then when she signed her name Rachel, in my reaction, I had like a eureka moment, and so many people in my comments were like, "Oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you! I wouldn't have known who that was if you didn't say it." And it's like, that's a testimony to how little they've dealt with the ocean side. That community has always gotten the shaft, so to speak. They like never deal with it. Even during the events of the Saviors, it was always, they stayed true. It's as if the show treated them like how they wanted to be treated. We just want to be left alone. It's like, okay, well, you've been left alone. We haven't dealt with you in a long time. So
yeah, people always say the show should be slimmed down to 10 episodes, but I can't like see how they can do that, because there's so much important development of these side characters that I think need to be done, and just you can't get that done in less than the 16 episodes that they do. Maybe they'd have less budget problems, which they've definitely had in the past, but judging off this season, I don't think they've had too many budget problems, to be completely honest. So
yeah.
I feel like they just didn't fit and find enough time to fit in any development for any side characters, and at least give some of them. I could tell they were just trying to go with really unpredictable choices for the Pike, so they didn't want to develop characters, so then we would assume, oh, they're getting development out of nowhere, so they must be getting the Pike. That's probably what they were doing. They just wanted to be so unpredictable, and it just ended up falling flat for me.
Yeah, I mean, like Enid, like we didn't really deal with Enid enough. She had like one or two conversations with Henry. She was the doctor. I mean, that's the almighty curse on this show. If you're a doctor, good luck. Yeah. You're next. How many they've killed so many doctors in this show.
Yep.
Just going through them. But no, your point is exactly the point of this video, in that they chose all these victims. They wanted us to care about them, but they didn't develop the side characters enough, like you said, so that when it got to a lot of these characters, we're like, okay, like I know, yeah, Tara, you've been with us since season 4, and Enid since season 5, but like when I saw their deaths and I reacted to them, I was thinking about the history. I wasn't even thinking about recent things they had done. I was like, oh my gosh, Tara, she's been there since the governor, and oh my gosh, Enid, she's been there since. Like I was thinking of longevity. Like I wasn't thinking of anything else recent that they had done. And then Henry, of course, they practically made him a main character with him taking Carl's storyline, and I was bullshit. So I guess my next question to you is, what do they do with Carl's storyline? Because there's more to it. That wasn't it.
I think they're just gonna anything that's related to Lydia. I think they're just gonna drop and just have Lydia be like solo. But if it's related to like, I guess like Negan or just any of that other stuff, they're just gonna give it to Judith.
Right.
That's probably what they're gonna do.
But I like Judith's character a lot, so I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem. Kaylee Fleming is phenomenal. And she's one of my favorite characters.
I like her better than old Chandler Riggs already.
Yep, 100% agree. 100%. But this was my fear that without a love interest, Lydia was just going to become this wandering dolt. Yeah. And the actress that plays her is too good for you to waste that talent. And this next episode will be telling the finale, because we're going to see a whole episode with her without Henry. So now we're going to see that unfold. And before I forget, why did she take her necklace off and put it at, I mean, I know that was his gravesite technically, but why did she take the necklace off? Like, why wouldn't she wear it to remember him? She took it off.
That's why I'm thinking there was a slight time jump, like at least 2 weeks, because even when Siddiq was giving that like speech, that seemed like that was at least a couple days after. There was no way that was directly after the Pikes, which I kind of wish we saw some of the reactions to the Pikes. Like we didn't get to see Ezekiel's reaction to hearing that Henry died, or I guess.
Yeah, you're right. We didn't see Ezekiel's reaction.
Eugene was really close with Tara. We didn't get to see Eugene's reaction to Tara dying, or Alden's reaction to Enid dying. And look at Maggie. Look how many people have died that were really close to Maggie that she's never going to have any sort of reaction towards. Tara, Enid, and Jesus, I guess. Which I guess you can't really avoid that. You know, Maggie's obviously not going to be here for a while. I still think she's coming back next season. I think she has to.
There's a lot of unpredictable things even moving into season 10. How are they going to is Michonne actually leaving, and how are they going to write that exit off? Is Maggie coming back, and how are they going to reintroduce her? Because it's like, hey Maggie, you know the two people you left in charge, Jesus and Tara? Yeah, they're dead. We need you now more than ever.
Yeah, that's why I like Tara. I'm actually okay with Tara's death more as more I think about it. I just wish she had proper development this season to actually make me care more. But I think the fact that she was the new leader of the Hilltop, I think that works. I think Ezekiel would have fit better because he's the leader of Kingdom. And I've been saying this, Father Gabriel would have worked really well. I know he's not like the main lead of Alexandria, but he's still one of the bigger people there. And I don't understand why they just didn't decide to kill off anyone from that little group. I was almost certain Father Gabriel was dying just because out of nowhere they gave him this relationship with Rosita. I'm like, what's the point of this relationship with Rosita? I don't see the point of it. You could have just done it how it was in the comics with just Eugene and Siddiq, but they decided to throw in Father Gabriel, so I was like, oh, he's a dead man. I was almost certain.
They kill off Henry and Lydia's romance, but they keep fucking Gabriel and Rosita.
I don't understand it. Did you notice that too? They were trying to what's the word? Subvert our expectations again. Mislead us is a better word. When before they showed Tara on the Pike, they showed they showed Gabriel talking to, I think, Eugene, and being like, do you know where she is? Well, let me know where she is. They were trying to make us think it was going to be Rosita on the Pike next, because Gabriel's asking, where is she, whatever. But it was really for Tara, which we didn't know about.
Yep.
That.
Yeah,
they were misleading us.
Because Rosita and Ezekiel were the biggest deaths of those Pike victims. Yeah. And it's crazy that only one was the same. And ironically, that was the woman who was on Talking Dead, Tammy Rose. She was the same person that died in the comics as that's the only one. Yeah. The only one out of all those victims.
Which a lot of the other victims, I guess they weren't even really characters on the show, to be honest. So I kind of understand why.
Right. Like the girl Olivia that slaps Negan that gets shot by a rot. She's one of the Pike victims because she doesn't get shot by a rot in the comics. So I mean, some of it's different, but
some characters that I think would have fit this Pike a lot better. One of them is Nabila, whatever her name is, Jerry's wife.
Oh
I
yeah.
think that was one I think a lot of people were almost certain about. They were like, that's gonna happen 100%.
They did a lot of stuff with. Well, they didn't do too much stuff with her, but they had shown her
Showing her,
enough.
yeah.
They built that up. That conversation, which had me laughing so hard, where Jerry's like, Nabil and I, we're button up.
Yeah.
He's like, we're up the pole. He's like, we're pregnant. Oh yeah, like that whole thing. Like they did establish that a bunch of times. They cut to Jerry taking care of his kids, so that could have worked. Yeah, you are right.
That
That
would work perfect
that
for
could
me.
have definitely worked.
And I think something I want to finish the video off with, like a final topic, is the inequality between the communities. Because the most important thing for this Pike death is the fact that it affects all the communities, right? But when I look at who died in the Pike, like 7 of them or 6 of them or something are from Hilltop. 2 of them are from Alexandria. 1 of them is from Kingdom, well, formerly from Kingdom, and then moved to Hilltop. And none of them are from Oceanside. So how are you really developing or affecting all the communities if you're not really giving all the communities a fair amount of death?
Yeah.
I felt like they
I
just,
had said that in my prediction. I said that I thought it would be 2 people from each community, and it was.
yeah.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
And then people are saying, "Oh, it's random. You really think Alpha would go?" I'm like, dude, it's a show. Just calm down. Like they were saying the same things that a lot of people said around Carl's death. Like, oh, shit happens. It's whatever. But when Carl died, you guys weren't saying that. So
Yeah. I mean, you got to have an argument in the present moment with like because obviously someone's trying to tell this a certain way, and we're trying to understand their thought process and their thinking. Like I'm trying to understand why you decided to trash Carl's um, love interest arc with Lydia, because you clearly showed that you were adapting pieces of it. Like the worm scene, the scars scene, the prison scene where they're both in prison together, and where he goes out and runs after her. Like in the comics, it's totally different. Like Alpha has no problem with Carl having a love thing for Lydia. She has no problem with it. She just says, I hate your society, but she doesn't have a problem with Carl at all.
yeah.
And in the show, Alpha obviously, sought out Henry and clearly had a problem. And there was the episode 12 where she told Lydia to kill him. And if it had been for Daryl, I don't know what would have happened. So
Yeah, if you think that Gage kid is gonna start to have a relationship with Lydia, the other kid,
what is that, the one that she shoved the goat shit in his
yeah,
face?
yeah, the only kid that didn't die.
I'm pretty sure that I saw a crazy theory that someone said like RJ, like they do another time jump and RJ gets with her. I was like, do you know how old Lydia would be by the time
What
RJ
the
is?
fuck?
Yeah, no, I saw someone said that. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, do you realize how old? Like, Hilly Fleming wouldn't even be able to play Judith anymore. She'd be so old. Like,
Yeah.
it would just like you're messing with time a little too much. Like the 6-year time jump was an arduous task in and of itself, and you pulled it off more or less, but no more jumps. Like you can't keep recasting and all this stuff. Like you got the people you got.
Yeah, I think they're perfect with it now. They're not gonna do another time jump they're not gonna do another time jump that's any much longer than like a month for a long time. I think. Actually, I think just completely the thing that pissed me off the most is that they don't really even make Henry his own character, really, when you think about it. Like all they used him for was just to develop the plot and move it along, because he was the main reason for the Pikes, and that's the root cause of the Pikes is Henry. That's the main reason why I don't like this, because I don't like when stories do that. When they take a character, they make him be the reason for something happening, and then he dies alongside it. It's like, well, you don't let the character live with the guilt. You don't let the character grow and become his own character, because now you're just using him as a pawn, as a catalyst.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you're just using him to push the story, which that's not what the character deserves, especially because he's Carol's son or Ezekiel's son basically now. So,
I agree. And then you wonder like other things, like did it have to do with Matt Lintz's age? Did they not see a future for the character? Like you think about all this
yeah.
long-term stuff, like in terms of going into the next thing. But And the other thing is, I don't know if maybe they had like a writer's room discussion where they're like, look, like Judith is taking over a lot of the other half of Carl's comic stuff. We want her to be the future of the Grimes. Like in terms of kids, the teenagers and kids growing up in the apocalypse, Judith is at the top of the altar. And if we're going to continue to idolize that progression moving forward, we can't have distractions. And maybe they saw Henry as a distraction.
Yeah, that's possible.
Potentially. It's possible.
I think they knew they had to kill off Henry or Ezekiel because they needed that impact on Carol. They needed the impact on the kingdom. And I think they just said, we don't want to do what the comics did. So let's just do it for Henry, honestly. Which
I almost thought you could merge the two storylines. So I don't know if you ever knew this. I had a theory back months ago before they even cast Lydia. I said maybe Lydia, you know how in the comics when they first get to Alexandria, in the comics it's a guy who's leading Alexandria, but it's a girl, it's a Deanna Mugro instead of the other guy, Doug.
Yeah.
I was saying, do you think they could remix it instead of Lydia being a girl, Lydia being a guy, so that Judith could have some sort of relationship, so that you get both the Negan stuff and the romance stuff, and you don't have to kill off the person also. Like, I was thinking maybe can you get the best out of everything? They didn't go that route. Now they had to divide the storyline. All right, half Henry, half Lydia. All right, Henry's dead, so now
yeah, honestly, I was thinking they were just gonna make
tricky.
I was thinking Enid was gonna come into play and not make her a lesbian or anything, but just make her close friends with Lydia somewhat. You know, they have some sort of relationship and a bond. I thought they were gonna do something like that. And then when they showed Henry after the time jump, and he was an older looking kid, I was like, this kid can act. This kid seems like a good role, and I was on board and I loved it. And I was like, I'm really excited for the future of this character now. And then they just threw it away after using him to develop the story. One thing in particular that Ronnie Hayes said, if you've ever watched Ronnie Hayes Make a Path Presents, I was watching his review last night. He brought up a really interesting, he brought up a point, because Ezekiel might be dying next season, right? There's rumors about that. Now
I've heard these rumors.
I mean, honestly, I don't believe them because there's no way in hell they would kill off Ezekiel or Henry if they were just gonna have Ezekiel leave next season anyway. And I don't understand. They haven't started doing any filming. So how would anyone even get that rumor? I don't know, but. Because it wasn't like it was the actor wanted to leave or anything. It was like they said something about a writer-led decision. That's what the Spoiling Dead said, at least on their post about the rumor. And if they kill off Ezekiel, a writer-led decision, or even if you wanted to leave and they knew that now, or before they did the Pike death, not having him have the Pike death, the iconic comic moment, and then just having him die next season anyways, would just be so disappointing in so many ways. Because if you're just going to get rid of his main death from the comic and at least give him a big character now, I expect Ezekiel to be like the forefront now. I expect him to last for the rest of the show at this point, because you just skipped his big comic moment that I was really hoping he was going to get. You skipped it. So I want you to keep that character now. I don't want you to get rid of him.
There's a term for this called, and Michael Cutlitz, who played Abraham, used this term in a Talking Dead. The episode 701, when everyone got their heads bashed. He said borrowed time.
Yeah.
Abraham was on borrowed time because he outlived the Dwight crossbow bolt where Denise got shot with the bolt. But they took that iconic death, but then they gave Abraham another iconic death.
Yeah, that's why I was fine with it, because first of all,
he got a big moment.
I thought,
even though he didn't get the bolt, he still got a big moment. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, if Ezekiel didn't get the big Pike moment, what big moment is upcoming that could satisfy that?
Gabriel,
fill in the blank. Like
Gabriel from the comics getting his stomach slashed.
There's two that come to mind from the Whisper of War. Someone falling off that water tower, which we've seen, which was where Eugene and Rosita were setting up the transmitter, and whoever gets bit in the where it's Andrea, where she gets bit. Yeah, those two.
Ooh, they could do that, but I wouldn't want them to, because they just get rid of his iconic death. And I think the reason why I was okay with Abraham is because I wasn't a fan of Abraham's death in the comic. I thought that was not really fitting for his character, so I was completely fine with him surviving. But I'm also glad they killed him off alongside Glenn, because I think it impacted more people. The fact that it was two, the fact that it was Abraham impacting Rosita and Eugene and Sasha, and how that all played out. And because if Abraham survived, he's like a war surgeon or whatever. He was like a general in the army or whatever. So it would be a lot easier for them, I feel like, to win the war with Abraham. And I feel like it was a lot more impactful because it's like we lost Abraham. We lost one of our best fighters. So I like that a lot. Kind of similar to the Whisperer killing Jesus, because Jesus is one of their best fighters. But I still feel like the Pikes, I just want to, get a final point here in the video. The Pikes, to me, I'm going to be able to accept them eventually, for sure, because I love this show. I'm never going to stop watching it. So even though the choices for the Pikes are, in my opinion, pretty bad, aside from a few, I think there's good stuff coming ahead. I think they're going to do a lot of great stuff with the future of the show. There was actually one theory I just want to mention real quick. It has nothing to do with the Pikes, but it sounds really interesting. The end of the season 9 finale. Imagine it ending with them on the radio, and Michonne hears Rick's voice.
Yeah, I've heard
think
this.
That would be because there was a sneak peek or something, or it might have been in the promo or something for the next episode. Ezekiel was talking through the radio. I don't know who he was talking to, but he was talking through the radio. So they have it there.
Yep, I've seen these. They have been foreshadowing this ever since. And if you think about it, the radio is what started this whole thing with the Whisperers, because Eugene and Rosita got caught and the Whisperers were chasing them, and then Eugene went missing and Daryl went to go get him, and then Jesus died, and then they picked up Lydia. Like, the whole chain reaction happened because Eugene and Rosita were out setting up that stupid radio in the first place. So it's got to do something, or else this whole Whisper thing was for nothing. basically. But I guess to get in just my final point for, I mean, so yeah, I was obviously not happy at all when I saw specifically Henry dying, because I just thought that I liked what they were doing. It was a storyline that made sense, that I liked. And you had this kid who could fight with the stick. He had this cool romance going with the enemy of the enemy's daughter. It really felt like a Romeo Juliet kind of thing. And I liked the progression of it, and I wanted to see where it went when the Whisperers went full war mode in season 10. And the fact that, like, it felt like it was unfinished. There was unfinished business there, and he just died, and it leaves me feeling like I'm wanting more. Because at least when Glenn and Abraham died, I felt like their stories had come to a close.
Exactly.
Like, Abraham had come full circle, realizing kind of who he was, the future that he wanted to build, the future that he was possibly going to have with Sasha, but it never came to fruition. His time just got cut short, but his arc was finished. And then same thing with Glenn. I think Glenn kind of he passed the point of no return, because he had never killed somebody until he murdered those saviors in his sleep. So this was almost like the Grim Reaper coming for him. Like, he broke his one. It's almost like Batman breaking his one rule, and he broke his rule that he had, seemingly never had to do. And that was kind of what sealed his fate. And the both deaths made sense. And I just feel like there were technicalities and many things going into this that steered these deaths in certain directions, and they weren't exactly done for the best reasons. I believe that, and I think, like you said, Ezekiel, other characters could have been more effective. This isn't because we don't like these characters. We just think that story-wise, it could have been a much better fit.
Exactly. And one last thing, fuck spoilers. That's just, I need to get that out there. Anybody who decides to post spoilers in comments or on Twitter, you're a douchebag. Just know that you are the worst human being aside from murderers. You are just almost just as bad. Like, you ruined a whole, like, we're never going to see that episode for the first time again. So when you ruin it, you ruin their entire enjoyment of it. Like, some people,
the biggest moments of this show, I've been ruined. I was ruined on who got Lucille, and I was ruined on who got piked. The two, and there's nothing. What else is left? Fucking Commonwealth hasn't done jack shit yet. So until issue 200 drops and something big happens, like,
the show's got to do something very different than the comics, because after the Whisper War in the comics, and like after a certain doom and all that stuff.
Oh, it
Everything
drags,
else is just
man.
kind of not interesting. I mean, I like the introduction to the Commonwealth, but like then it's just like, well, what after that? There's really nothing all that great. I feel like they're gonna do good stuff though, just because they have the Rick movies and all that. So I feel like there's gonna be good stuff coming from there, hopefully.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, they always do a good job of remixing it. I
yeah,
think if you like personally, I think the Whisperers, how they ended in the show, or sorry, in the comics, was
yeah,
horrible. I hated how they ended in the comics because it was just like the Whisperer War to me. Just felt just lame. It just felt lame, and then
it did.
it just, and I hope the show does a much going into season 10. That's like on my wish list, like my Santa wish list for Angela Kang. I want the comic, like the version of the Whispers going into season 10 to be much better than how they were portrayed in the
I
comics, because I
want a
hated how they ended.
15-minute fight between Daryl and Negan versus Beta. I want that. If we don't get that, I will be so disappointed.
You might have the scene where Dwight is pinned on the ground and
Yeah.
he throws Lucille to it. Probably will be Daryl. He gets pinned. He sees Lucille, throws it, and Negan gets it. It's like, let's play rock, paper, scissors. Bat smashes knives.
That's good. That's gonna be great. But then, of
That's
course,
gonna
one
be
of the
so great.
one of my favorite points in the comics with the Hilltop getting attacked and like Lydia and Carl fighting, you're not gonna have the same thing
Yeah,
because you're
fuck, we're
not
not
gonna
gonna
have
have that.
Henry.
Yep, that was one of the things.
You're
Yep,
just gonna
that's a
have
big
Lydia by
moment.
herself, or maybe with, I don't know, Judith or something. Which it'll still be great, I'm sure. It's just missed potential. And the reason why I've been able to accept Carl's death so fast, in my opinion, is because I personally did not like the actor. I think I loved comic Carl so much, but I just didn't think Chandler Riggs could bring comic Carl to life as well.
I agree.
So I was okay with it. I was like, all right, you know what, fine. I can deal without it. But then Henry just put a spark in me. I was like, he literally is perfect comic Carl, at least for that specific arc. And
then they killed him.
just
Like,
got
what
rid
was
of
the
it.
point
So,
of giving him the storyline if they killed him? Like, that's really what it boils down to. Like,
yeah.
I've said this in so many videos. Why did you just give this kid the storyline, build him up, give him all this screen time just to kill him? Like, what was your end game here? Like, I'm not seeing the end game. When Glenn and Abraham were killed, I saw the end game. I don't see a freaking end game here.
Yep, neither do I.
So
I'm just
all right.
I'm curious as to who the hell they're gonna kill next. Honestly, like out of any character, because
they need to take a deep breath with the deaths.
Yeah.
They need to calm down. There's been a lot of, like, think about how many people we've lost in season 9. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's totally ridiculous how many people we've lost in season 9. I'm talking leaving, like Rick and Maggie, who are still alive out there somewhere, but they're just not in our show. And then people who have died. It's a big number.
Like, it's necessary to kill people on this show. It's just got to be the right people. And I feel like they've done a good job with that for the majority of the show, but I think in this case, not really.
That's our point. That's our point here.
Yeah.
We just
So,
think that, yeah.
Hopefully you guys all enjoyed the discussion video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you like what they did with these deaths, the choices? And let me know what you think would have been maybe better choices, what characters you think would have fit the Pike better, because there's a lot of characters, in my opinion, that would have fit this a lot better than Henry or Enid or DJ even. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.